I think that when we all look at what Ben brings to the table in regards to size, skill, versatility, it's exciting. It goes to a new level for me because of the knowledge that I have of his background and the respect that I have of how he was raised. And I think from a package standpoint, when you weigh it all up, this is a fantastic night for 76er basketball.
Given your familiarity with him, given, I'm sure, the research done on him, have you formed any opinions or inklings yet as to how you might use him? Run the offense through him,
Yeah.
who he would guard, that sort of stuff.
Right. For me, when I say, like, he's a two-man, he's a three-man, he's a five, whatever number we anoint somebody with, for me, it's always who do you guard? It's always who do you guard? Because I think that you can place people space-wise, surely held by shooters, easier than they just can't guard somebody. And I feel like he is going to be able to guard four men. He is going to be able to switch out on pick and rolls if we choose to do that. It's his instinct and his history to play that spot. Call it a .4. We all have different, names that we would use as an example. We've known about this pick for a while. There are times that if you caught me, I would think that I want to just treat him as a true point guard. Just give him the ball. And so you can go back and forth, but I think it's the hardest position to play in the NBA. I think to just give him the ball in that capacity is borderline cruel. He needs to feel NBA basketball, and maybe he evolves there, but to start with, that's how we'll play him.
Brett, does it feel like after 2 years ago you had the draft and nothing came to fruition? You said it felt like you got kicked in the gut. Does
a red shirt year.
Yeah. Does the future seem like right in your face now, like so much more than ever?
Well, it does, and we expect to learn more news on Dario very soon. We saw Joel go up and down in a controlled 5-on-5 environment a few days ago. We've now drafted, I think, just something very, very special in Ben Simmons. And so when you start adding that into the mix of what we have and add that sort of future that we all know with other draft picks coming up, and we've still got some more work to do before this night's over, you can't help but feel like you can actually touch people and see a team that's taken shape where you cannot feel like it's going to move a lot. There are a few people on this team, the team in general, that we can touch and wrap our arms around and feel like we can grow with it as a city and as an organization.
Right. For various reasons, This Starts Now campaign just didn't work out. Does it kind of feel like that now that, at this point, you're like, okay, this really does start now?
My first reaction is it has a better chance of starting now than maybe it did when we said it was going to. I think we would all admit that just because you can see some of the people and some of the names that I've just said, I feel like would allow us to feel like we're in a better place than we were when we first sort of did say that. The mission is still going to be to try to get that positionally balanced team and balance in the respective positions, but I do feel the names that we've just talked about are going to help us move forward a lot quicker.
Brett, what was the differentiating factor between Ben and, let's say, Brandon Ingram, who went number 2 and you also worked out?
I think Brandon's going to end up being a great player. You're going to see over the years him put on weight. He's got the luxury right from the get-go that he can shoot. I think that he's going to be put in pick and rolls, and he can, pass out of pick and rolls with his length and his size. We just felt for us that Ben's versatility and Ben's physicality combined with how we feel like we can grow his skill package, especially shooting, is going to make him different, very different if we can do some of those things that we've just said. And it was a decision that we're comfortable with, and personally, I look forward to coaching him.
Do you think you'll use him maybe in some of the same ways that Golden State uses Draymond? Not that he's the same player, but
no,
some of the same skills.
I think we would all be able to say, and when I say this, somebody comes in and says, oh, we've compared him to Magic, or we've compared him to LeBron. It's easy for all of us when we say, You see LeBron bringing up a Draymond. There are times that, Irvin Johnson was a 6'9" point guard. And so, like, you pick and you choose. Sometimes you choose words that better clarify how you intend on using him. There are some things, and I say that also that it's not a reckless anointment too early. There's a lot of work to be done. And that's a long-winded yes, I do. I think you can see some, Draymond usage in him on how he can rebound and lead a break. I think Saric does this as well. You watch these guys' defensive rebound, and their instinct, and we will encourage it, is to just hit the deck and lead a break. I think it's one of the hardest things to defend defensively, and one of the most things you want to exploit offensively. If you can find a rebound, Barkley did it. He'd rebound and just take off. You'd lead the break. That's as good a way as you can get out and go and get out and run, which we want to do, as I know of. And so he does that. We want to encourage that, and that will be Draymond-ish.
Brett, have you left the part of just getting the best player, and now the focus goes to positionally balanced? Have you graduated to that, so to speak?
It would seem so. It would seem so. Philosophically, I would have been amazed if we thought like a 5-man was the best player in this year's draft, and we would have taken him. I don't believe that would have happened. It's easier for me to say that because, Ben's a 4-3, maybe in some nights a 1 down the road. And for that reason, yes, I think that philosophically we were there anyways, where we want to start looking at positionally balanced people and trying to fill up some holes. And so I do think that that this year, that was not the philosophy, and it's easier for me to say that because Ben, was the best player in the draft as we saw it, and is not a 5-man.
How hard tonight was Brian trying to get into the top 5, and how close did it realistically come?
I mean, you sit up in that room. It's one of my favorite nights. This is my 16th NBA draft. You sit up there at Speed Chess. Phones are ringing. Deals are being thrown around. We were the recipient of more calls than calls going out. And it's like everybody. I'm not going to get into the detail of the specifics, but it was an active phone. I think what I learned is there's a lot of interest in our players. From Covington to Skousis to Nerlens to Jaleel. We received a lot of calls, and I'm sure, there was a lot of activity throughout the league.
Brett, you've seen him for a long time, Simmons. At what point did you realize that maybe he could be a cut above?
I think the start of this year, you were aware of him in high school. You'd saw glimpses. I have such a close connection with the country in Australia that coaches that worked with him that I've known, for 30 years, his junior coaches, the coaches that coached him and kind of groomed and raised him in a basketball environment, I would talk to them, and they would talk a lot about his gifts. I think for me, at the start of the season, when you just saw him physically and you saw his skill package, and he held that mantle the entire year. Never once did he leave the expected first pick. And that doesn't happen very often, and I felt like for me, I knew it, at the start of his LSU season.
Did you know, when you think about where you're going to play him, I know you talked about it and you're going to have to work him out, but in your head somewhere, you got to say, this is what I think he can be. What can he be on this team?
I think we'll start him as a 4-man, and, we'll play him in that capacity. And if you look at, say, Antetokounmpo, he came in, this gangly, long player, and the second part of the year after the All-Star break, Jason played him as a point guard. And I don't know. I just know that he is that versatile that it's going to be a good problem to figure out. I think from the get-go to start with, we will treat him as an NBA 4-man, and we will grow from there. I've said it so often about the difficulty of playing that position in the NBA, the point guard position. It's the hardest position to play by quite a bit, in my opinion. And I'm not going to just dump him there. I'm not going to do that.
Don't you have a 4-man?
What's that?
Don't you have a 4-man on this team?
Well, that'll sort itself out, right? Tonight we'll figure some things out, and during the course of preseason we'll figure it out. But at the start, that's how we intend on using him.